So you'll need your graph paper. You have a ruler, and a pencil with a good eraser.
I'm not sure.
I don't think I have a ruler.
Okay, that's all right. If you find something with a straight edge, like I used to always use just something with a hard edge. Like I could use this CD case and be able to draw a straight line. With graph paper, it's easier. Unlined paper, it's harder. So whenever
I find it to see if we had one, but I don't know.
All right. So for blueprints, what are blueprints? They are just general references for someone that's going to build something, and we use them in pretty much everything that's design and engineering based. I use them, and we'll use them in all of our design and modeling classes. We use them for automation and robotics. But if I went beyond that, because I'm previously an agriculture teacher and I taught mechanics and carpentry and welding, blueprints are found everywhere in there as well. Even if you're going to like build your own house later in life, you need to be able to read blueprints. All right, so blueprints are really important. They help somebody that otherwise wasn't there at the first brainstorm of the activity to be able to build something or reference it. So if we look at your sheet of graph paper, this is your drawing area. And the whole point of a blueprint is to take something that's very large and put it onto something very small, or the other way around, something that's very, very small where you can't see to something that's bigger so you're able to see a reference. So the blueprints are there to give you a sort of idea of what you need or what something looks like. On your graph paper, you're limited to an 8x11 sheet of paper. And so in our designing modeling class, we had to follow what's known as a scale. And you use the squares in here to be able to do a scale. Each square is 1/4 of an inch. So we would say we'd either do 1 square equals a foot or something like that. So everywhere on your sheet, if I did that, this square would be a foot. If I went 4 squares, it would be 4 feet. Or I could say that 1 square equals 1/2 an inch or 1/8 of an inch. We just start building it down to where you would be able to count the squares and be able to tell how big or how small something is. For AR and robotics, we get to take the easy road and just write not drawn to scale at the bottom, which is a lot easier than using your ruler and trying to figure out the specifics of angles and things like that. So I'm going to show you how to set up your blueprint. You have specific things that you need to have for your blueprint. The first thing you need to do is draw a box around your piece of paper. And I like to leave room at the top, depending on where your holes are, 1 square down. So I go from here, leaving 1 square all the way around, with the exception of this end piece because it's 1/2 a square. So I'm just going to draw all the way around 1 square by 1 square, leaving that border. There is a proper way to handle a ruler as well. If you look here at this top, this is a good example of a ruler that is not being held correctly. When I first started holding that ruler, I only had it by 1 finger. And if you'll notice, whenever I draw that line, the ruler moves. You don't want that because then it leaves an unqualified line. You want to hold it with 3 fingers like this, and it won't go anywhere. It might seem like overkill, but the paper is a lot slicker than what you think. So you draw your line straight down. Your lines will always be straight. You can rotate your paper around, whatever works best. Some people like to keep it still, but I like to rotate it. Right, so using my 3 fingers, notice how it doesn't move. So you should have a box all the way around your blueprint. Were you able to get your project done?
Which one?
The
The
one
one
for
for
this
the
class.
no, I'm working on finding it because it didn't save the one like the thing that I had already did in class.
Oh,
So yeah. But I texted you on the project and asked what to look up like to find um things to research.
I thought you meant like what to put in the slideshow. Yeah, you just if you type in, depending on what field you're interested in, it could be medical, agriculture. Uh, I think I said medicine. Any sort of field. It could be in the home too, like as simple as a Roomba or a Google Home or something like that. You just type in something specific. You go automation, robotics. Examples of automation in the home, that type of thing, or automation in the food industry, something like that.
Okay.
And I'll give you examples. Right,
Yeah.
did you get your box?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a very important piece of a blueprint. The reason why is if you notice on your graph paper, there's no definite border other than the edge of the paper. When we
Yeah.
draw a blueprint, and I preach this to the PLTW people, I took the training for AR and robotics, and I was the only agriculture teacher there and person that was involved in the industry. And they didn't have you do this stuff. And it's important for you to learn to do this stuff if you're getting into those type of fields, because I don't want you to relearn something that you could have easily learned now. And so whenever we draw in industry, we always make sure that we have a border, because when you look at a blueprint later, you don't know if you draw all the way to the edge, you don't know if there's another blueprint page that goes with that. So by putting a border, you're limiting yourself to a narrower space to where someone looks at your picture, they know that it won't go into another page anywhere. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we don't know. Like if I drew a house or something on here and it went all the way to the edge, we don't know if there was more to that house. And so by this border, we know this is all that we have to draw. So whenever you do a blueprint, you always do the square all the way around. That's the first step. And you'll get in the habit of that. The next thing that you do is that you put a title up here. When you write on a blueprint, it needs to be in all capital letters. The reasoning why is because no matter how quickly you write, we're more likely to be able to read your writing in all capital letters than lowercase. So if I took a sample sheet here and I wrote something really crazy, see here. Can you read that?
No.
Can you read that one?
Yes.
See the difference? Some of you guys write really messy, but if I have you write in all capital letters, you're not yelling at me. I know in text it means you're yelling. But in blueprint world, no matter how quickly I write, you can still read that. Because I wrote at the same speed. So the all capital letters helps with different styles of handwriting as well. We're able to read it. So we're going to do a title, and we'll write a title of practice. A practice blueprint. And some people have asked me before, like, how big do you write? I generally keep my letters no smaller, no bigger than a square on the piece of paper. I mean, it really doesn't matter, but if you write too big, you might run out of space. If it's too small, we can't really read it. So title, practice blueprint. The next step is going to seem a little silly, especially for our smaller builds that we do, but in industry it's important, is that you write the word top at the top of your paper. You might be thinking that seems kind of stupid. Why do we do that? So I present with you a rough blueprint. I didn't use a ruler or nothing. I didn't write the borders, but here's a landscape. And you're supposed to build the house and put the landscape in. Like we have a driveway, we have plants, we have the house. For someone that you didn't draw this, like I know which direction it's supposed to go in, right? And if I hand this to you and you're just looking at an open field, you don't know how to hold the paper. The top tells you where to hold the paper. Like it could go this way, it could go this way, it could go anywhere. But by writing the word top on something, I know that that's where the top of the paper is supposed to be. So this was how it's supposed to actually be built. The driveway's at the front of the house is weird, right? But I know this is how it's supposed to be held and looked at. So a rule of thumb for me too, to help keep it consistent, at least for my own organization, I always make sure the top of the paper is with the holes. So that when someone's looking at your book, all they got to do is just do this to look at your paper. So just write top, and then that way everyone that looks at your paper knows that's how I'm supposed to hold it. Seems kind of silly, but it avoids mistakes later down the road. The next step is right down here at the bottom. This is where we put our scale. If we were writing an actual scale, we would write 1 equals or whatever our scale is. But for AR and robotics, you don't have to worry about that. So you're going to write not drawn to scale. And then with that gives you the freedom to draw your stuff as big or as small as you want.
Mr. Taylor, please come to the office.
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 parts right now. We have not the title, top, and not drawn to scale. It helps if we could see the whole thing. The next part is just specific to AR and robotics and PLTW. And it is not seen, I don't think, as readily in industry, but I do have you guys do this so you can organize it. We divide your blueprint into 4 separate sections because you have to draw different viewpoints. If I was drawing a shed or something, I would actually divide the sheet. I wouldn't divide the sheet. I would have each page for a different view just because it's something bigger, but I'm not worried about that. So we're going to evenly divide it into 4 squares. You can eyeball it or count it. Right, there's the one. And we'll do the 4th one. I think I might have eyeballed this one a little wrong, but it's okay. Oh, no, it's good. Or no, I need to go up by a half, but that's fine. So then we have 4 squares. So these 4 squares give you an additional drawing area, and each square represents a different placement for your viewpoints, and we'll label those. For your blueprints, you are allowed to label your square section since you didn't have a full semester of it for design and modeling. Because in design and modeling, we write out everything, and then by the end of the course, we no longer write the view titles. We just automatically draw, and we know what we're looking at. I don't think I have. I think I threw away the ones from AR. I didn't think I was going to need them.
One on your class. I have to redraw the middle one, because it was a little off.
Okay. You're the only one in here, so we're going your face. All right, while you do that, I want to see if I have it in my computer bag. An example.
have one.
While you're doing that, here's an example of one where you're just drawing with one view on the entire sheet of paper. And this is also one that is drawn to scale. So if we look, we have the title at the top, you have the word top, you have your drawing area, then we have our scale at the bottom. If I took a ruler and I went along here, so I said 3 squares equals 1 inch, you really can't see this, but this shed, for example, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 feet. So we just represented 8 feet within 6 inches. So that was 8 feet. It's an 8 by 10 shed, is what was represented by the scale. In comparison to the ones that you guys are going to be doing for AR, like you guys are actually be drawing this. We have our title or word top not drawn to scale at the bottom, and then our 4 viewpoints that we're going to label. All right, so they look slightly different, but different industries, different expectations. So in robotics, you would do the 4 viewpoints.
I'm done, by the way.
Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to label what our viewpoints are. So each square has a specific view. So the first one up here is top view. The one to the beside of it on the top as well is 3D view, which will be one of your most difficult drawings to do. And this right here is your front view. And this right here is your right view. You may have an additional blueprint page for a build where your right and left views are different, but cross the bridge when we get to it. So you should have top view, 3D, front, and right view. And we are going to do an example of one. Get something for us to draw. Here's something easy. And just let me know when you get your labels done.
I'm done with them.
Okay. So each one of these is specific. I like to start with the front view first. This is what we're going to be drawing. Nice simple box for you to get used to the different things. What I look at is if I need to draw something more specific. So this is just a solid box, but if I flipped it over, you can see that it has a hollowed-in area. I'll save that for a later view. So when I'm looking at a front view, I'll set it up, and whenever I see the chaos that is my desk now. Whenever I set this up for us to do our drawings and our build plates, I'll be moving my phone around, which is why I got that crazy stand that's on my desk. And then I'll show you what I'm looking at. So this would be the front view. All right. It's the first thing that we look at. It's the main face of the build. When you're looking at your front view, you're then going to turn this to the right, and that would be your right side view. Okay. That's the front. And we just turn the build plate or whatever we're drawing to the right, and that's the right side view. The top view would be looking directly at it from a bird's eye view, straight down. And then the 3D view, I will pick one of these. Typically it's the front view, and I'll just turn it slightly maybe this will work. I'll turn it slightly to this so that we can see the multiple angles like that. All right. So that's what I'm looking at as we do the blueprint. And then when we I'll upload the reference things for AR. I'll take pictures of my builds if we're still virtual and snap those pictures for you guys to look at what I was looking at for the blueprints. Let me solidify my camera and let's go ahead and get started. Right, so I'm going to do the front view first because to me, that's always the first one I do. It just depends on you as a person, which one you're going to do. I'm not going to take off points if you start at the top view or right view. I save the 3D view for last because it's one of the more difficult ones. Now for this drawing, it's not that difficult. Because it's not drawn to scale, I don't need to worry about counting squares or anything. I like to fill the space as much as possible within reason. I like to keep it like at least a 2 square border around it where I don't put any writing in case I need to write a note or something down below or add something. So I'm going to go in by 2 and up by 2 will be right here where I put that dot. And then we're going to do the same thing up here because remember, we're just drawing a square or a rectangle. And then we're going to connect, holding your ruler as tight as possible. So we have a straight line. We'll go across. Draw our lines from here to here, stopping at the 2, leaving that border. It's about a finger's width, too, is what I like to estimate for when I'm drawing these in. And it's just a preference. I think it makes it look neater. The same thing up top, like this. And then connect your lines. So then we have our square. Now, another thing that you would do, like for AR and robotics, we're not going to have writing, but if you wanted to give some detail on here that you otherwise might not see, like we're not going to write 3D words on the 3D view, but if I wanted to specifically have someone make this for me and I wanted that exact quote on there, the front view would be the best time to write that in there. So I'm just going to write what the quote is in all capital letters. And I have 4 lines. I think I estimated here 2, 3, 4. No, it's here 2, 3, 4. Yeah, starting here 1, 2, 3, 4, and going across. So good friends are like stars. You don't always see them, but you know there we go. So that is what the box says. It says good friends are like stars. You don't always see them, but you know they're always there. So that gives me some details of the front that otherwise I might not see in any other view. Like on the right side view, we don't see anything. Top view, we don't see anything. So what you'll notice from each of these views, they give us information about the object that's being built that we might not see in a specific view. And we could write a note down here at the bottom. We could say letters are ½ inch tall. Like, because it's not drawn to scale, like it's a note for like letters are ½ inch tall. See how I have space that doesn't interfere with the drawing itself to write little notes. And you don't want to fill the space with a lot of, if you have a lot of notes to write about something, like we want to do the color and that stuff, there's a separate sheet for that you would do. But for something as simple as that, not too bad. You get that?
I'm working on there, and then I'll put the letters are. What is that?
They're always there. Are you talking about here?
No, at the bottom.
Oh,
Letters
are ½ inch tall.
Okay.
And specifics like color, like the box is black and then the letters are white. You would want to put that on a separate note sheet about it. And whatever you make size-wise for this view, you need to follow through with the right side view and the top view for height and things like that. So you'll notice that things line up specifically for that.
I'm done.
Got it? All right. So with that in mind, now I'm going to use pencil at this point just so I can erase my lines later. Maybe throw lead pencil. A dead one. There we go. So to help me and able to visualize so I can quick draw, I'll take really lightly with pencil. You don't want to do it really heavy, right? I'll draw across the line so I know how tall to make my drawings, right? So I'll do it this way. I'll switch across to the top and do the same thing because this will save me time. Your front view is really the guidelines for everything, like how big you're going to make your drawing and stuff like that. So you can't really see on your screen, but you have those across, and you'd want to erase those later because at the end you do ink your blueprints and then you just erase all of your pencil and it's nice and clean. And you'll notice when we do the drawings for the builds, like when we get to more advanced builds, you'll see me using a pencil because I need to erase my stuff as well. There's no shame in erasing. Remember that. I'm going to make this, like I'm going to go in and try to center it underneath here. I'm going to make it about 5 squares wide. So we're going to draw from here. I'm going in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares right here. Zoom in so you can see that. Yes. Maybe. There we go. So I'm going up and then I'm just going to meet from this line all the way up to that line and stopping. And then count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do the same thing from this line up and this line up here. And also, if you have any questions, you can ask Jaden Pitzer too, if you're ever in contact with him. And sometimes you're over there at his house. He'll be able to help you too. Because he just took this course.
Yeah.
So then we're just going to connect our lines. And then you're done with the right view. That's it. Done. So you'll notice everything lines up with it. And I'll just go through and I'll erase my pencil. That's nice and clean. And if you draw dark with your pencil, those lines won't erase and it'll look messy. So always draw light first until you're absolutely sure what you're doing. And then that's it. That's all you gotta do for right view. Pretty simple. It took us like less than a minute. And by drawing those guidelines, that really helps you in making sure it's really quick. So taking a few seconds out of your time will save you a lot of time down the road, especially for more advanced builds. Okay, let's tuck it. Oh, did you get the right view? I'm just jumping ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm going to go to the top view and get this centered so you can see it. Top view is going to replicate, like we're looking at the front and we're just looking at it like we're taking an airplane and going across. So same thing, I'm going to go up by 2. And then we're going to connect our lines from here to here. We're kind of going in reverse here. So up by 2. Like that. And then because we went by 5 over on the right side, right view, we're going to go up by 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. So just because it's not drawn to scale doesn't mean that you can't just make your own little scale in your head to make things that fit. I think it just makes it look neater instead of just jumping around and doing different scales. A lot of times when people see not drawn to scale, they think they have that freedom. But if you keep everything pretty much the same, you know that just because it's not drawn to scale, you can see that it's the same width in the right-hand view as it is the top view. We want to erase our pencil. Just like that. And there we have our top view. Very simple. Of course, we are just drawing a box, but it's a good way for you to get used to navigating a blueprint. I don't want to overwhelm you with something very advanced. All together, this is what it should look like. So to look really neat and clean.
I'm done.
All right. So we can see we have different stuff. So we can look to see, this shows us the text. That's the information that we see. The top view shows us like how long it is and how wide it is here. The right view shows us that it's also this tall and this wide. And when we do our robotic stuff, you'll be seeing different things like different gear placements and overall the whole build plate up here. And it does show you different information. So when we do our 3D view, you'll notice when I do 3D, no matter what it is, I always use pencil. Because sometimes I do things more complicated than what they need to be. All right, so for this, we're going to go up by 2, just like before. All right, I'm going to be drawing the front view. You'll notice a lot of times when I draw 3D, I will just draw the front view, but make it 3D. Because I already know I already have a reference of what it needs to look like. So then I just mimic that up here. So you're going to see I'm going to be copying. So we're going to go up by 2, in by 2, drawing our line straight across. Like that. Draw this up until I hit the 2. Almost like that. Both sides. Okay, and then connect our lines to make our box.
I got that.
Okay. Now comes the 3D part. Now it just looks like, wow, we're just doing the same thing. Not impressed. But what you do is when you draw 3D, at least for these when they're not drawn to scale, Let me zoom in so you can see what I'm doing. I divide the square into half. I go from one corner to the next up here. I'm just going to draw this one just by one because, I mean, we're not concerned. I just want you to practice drawing in 3D. Oops. There's an example when a pencil's important. All right, so there we have that. Do the same thing down here on this end. Draw it up by one, and you're just going to connect your lines. If you need practice for 3D, I can print you off some of the star things we did last year to help you oh, shoot, that was annoying. To help you draw 3D. We just drew 3D stars and practiced with letters and stuff. It really helped them. So if you need that, I can just print that off for you later. So
Okay.
now we can already see, like, we have a 3D shape here. We're gonna do the same thing down here along the bottom. So we're going to divide it in half. And we're going to I'm sorry. This pencil's going to scrape. And then there's that. But right now what it looks like is that it looks like a solid box. But if we remember when we flip this over, it's not. It has a space down in here. And you can also see I drew it by one just because this is really narrow. So in order to do that, what we're going to be doing is that we need to draw hidden lines. The solid lines that you see here are ones that you can see. Like we can see this part, we can see this part, but what we can't see but is there is this part in here. So what we'll do is we draw up here into this, and instead of drawing a solid line, you do a dashed line instead. A dashed line, when you look at it on a blueprint, means that that's what's behind the object. It's hidden behind something, but it's there. So I'll just draw it across, and then we have a dotted line. If you draw a lot light enough, you can just draw a solid line and then just use your eraser. There we go. Then we have that. So now you can see it is a box.
Does it matter how far apart you put your like dashes?
No, just as long as you can tell it's a dashed line.
Okay.
Like you can see I differed here and here, it doesn't matter. I'm not gonna take out points for that. So then what I'll do, like, this is a good example of once you get something done in pencil, I just go through and highlight it with pen. This will definitely help you whenever we do AR because whenever we draw these, for example, you might have some pencil lines that were guidelines for you. When you go to with pen, you can finalize things and then just erase your mistakes. Someone just randomly walked in my room. I don't know who it was. Going through and connecting our lines again and just finalizing lines. Like maybe I didn't like how I drew something. The pen is final. There's no arguing the pen.
To get them solar star letter things, could my aunt come and pick them up tomorrow? I think that's when paper packets go up.
Yeah, I can print you off some before I leave today.
Okay.
Let me see if I can find them. And then I'll put a ruler out in the box and you can grab.
I have a ruler at my aunt's house. I'm with my mom right now.
Mm-hmm.
and I don't have one here.
Oh, okay.
So-
We can get you one.
There we go. And now if I went down through, if you're using like this pen is like a Sharpie, it's a permanent marker. But if you're using one like this, it's a gel ink, make sure you fan your paper off before you erase. Otherwise it'll smear across your blueprint and you'll get mad. So if you're using a Sharpie based pen, you're good to go. But if you're using a gel based pen, you need to make sure that you let the paper have some time to dry before you erase.
That'd be my stupidness. I'd do that.
Mhm.
Here we go. And then just like that, then we have a nice clean blueprint. So sometimes I know the kids like last year, they got intimidated by the blueprints, but the important thing is setting it up and then just getting in the habit. I like to tell kids that look how I draw blueprints and they get frustrated, but I've been doing it for a long time. So I've had a lot of practice. Getting the practice is where you get to where you can just eyeball things and just draw. You don't have to measure and that kind of stuff. So you got to work your way up there. Did my first blueprints look like this? Absolutely not. It just takes
They
practice.
probably looked like all of ours when we first started.
Yeah, it's just like anything. You got to practice. So that's the general basis for blueprint drawing. You just need to make sure you set up your spaces, and then to practice your 3D and stuff to help visualize, I'll get those printed off. Let me see if I can find them right now because we have about a minute for class to be over.
Do you have anybody after this class?
No. This is the last class of the day.
At least it was easy. All you had to do was draw.
Yeah, so what you'll be doing in this class is that if we're fully virtual, what I'm going to be doing is just showing you the put together product, and then we're going to do the blueprints just so we can keep pace. And then once we're in school, we'll build the thing you're building, and then you'll do the blueprints at the end. So we'll be able to do about a build a week. So we'll see what happens after Thanksgiving break, what they decide.
They made our
But we'll-
Thanksgiving break longer.
Yeah, so what I'm going to probably do is for this class, since we have had blueprints and things like that, I'll take pictures of the build plates and the drawings, upload an example like this for you to look at, and then have a tutorial video for you to watch as well. And then you just do it on your own time and watch it that way. And then after we get back, we'll be able to just go into the windmill project.
Also another question. On Wednesdays when we do have school, will we have a Google Meets for this class?
Oh, for Wednesdays when we're back in regular school, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I don't make, where's that at? I don't make the I don't think it's fair to make students do it 3 times a week. It's bad enough too, but we have to do 2 times a week just so we get through the material if you have questions and things. Especially in your advanced classes, like your core classes, I see how it's important for you to meet multiple times.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go to my old school website just to get your 3D shape pictures. Yeah, 3D is just really visualizing. It's just getting practice because like we added gear here, you'd have to make it 3D. Of course, I don't have an example of a 3D one here with me. It's at home. But well, actually, I guess I could show you. I have time. If you have time to show, let's see, present now. Share my screen. Yeah. And I'll show you okay, calm down thing. All right, it should be sharing my screen now. If we go into Project Lead the Way, I'll show you 5th grade's class and what we had done. to give you an idea of what we're working with. So like I'll put a tab here for Vex build references, and the internet's running really slow. Like this was the most complicated one right here.
Yay.
Like it's the lead screw. It's gonna glitch, but I just want to show you the finished one.
Are you like signed on now? Because I don't see it.
Oh, you gotta click the thumbnail back off.
The only one I see is the one with the leaves and the one with the blueprint that we just did.
Oh, you can't access this class. This is last year. This is 5th grades. Oh, I bet it's down here in mechanisms. I forget where I organized it. Here we go. It should be in here theoretically. Where'd they go? It's like all the blueprints disappeared. Like I'm not supposed to show you the blueprints. It must be in here somewhere. It just didn't load. Oh, here's an example. Like here we go. So what I do in the assignment is I'll take a picture and make a collage of the build. Can you see it now?
No.
Did it stop sharing my screen? Did it really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it did. I can only see the one where you have the background and then the one where you have the blueprint sitting on the table.
All right. Now it should be working. Give it a second. There it goes.
There you go.
All right, so I would take a picture of the build that we do here for reference. Now, some are clearer than others. Like, I'll take them outside. The ones in the classroom aren't very clear. But then this is like a finished blueprint of something that we would draw in robotics.
That's cool.
So we can see the 3D plate. Like looking back on this reflecting, I can see that I need to make that gear assembly on the 3D view smaller, so that we can put the build plate further back so it doesn't get cut off like that. Oh, you have your different views. You have your front, right, top, and 3D. So it's going to be it's going to be more advanced than what we drew today, but you know how to set up the blueprint now. And it just takes practice. And then.
So will there always be 4 boxes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, with the exception of like if you need to add another box, you just draw another blueprint and have it like all the views that you need to have on there.
Okay, because the house the shed, I think that's what it was. I couldn't see like a line, and that's why I was confused.
Oh yeah, the shed, that was just an example of something like in industry we wouldn't divide it up into 3 views like that. We would have one blueprint per view for like a big building like that. So that's why that was their practice, to set up a blueprint and do scale. But like this is an example of a simple gear assembly. It's the first one we're going to be doing, and then our different views. And we didn't do the 3D view on my side because that was homework for them. So I wanted to see if they could do it before I did the reference, but yeah, you should be fine. They didn't get very far. You guys will get further since you're further along in engineering wise. But
There's Jaden's comment.
sent the other day. Yep. So if you, I mean, if you don't have any other questions or anything, I'll let you be free to go, and then I'll
Okay,
look
bye.
for. All right, bye.